Hey folks, Rue here. Just wanted to let you know that this episode of Ruel's Running Podcast is sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps health-conscious people get a special life insurance rates. I don't know why I said especial, but Health IQ can save customers up to 33% because physically active people have a 56% lower risk of heart disease, 20% lower risk of cancer, and 58% lower risk of diabetes compared to people who are inactive. So, what does that mean? It means later on in the show, I'll tell you a little bit more, but just feel rest assured that Health IQ uses science and data to secure lower rates on life insurance for health-conscious people like yourself. You know, you, the runner, the cyclist, the strength trainer, you know, the acrobat, the gymnast, somebody who's just active and, you know, takes care of themselves. You know, they want to take that data into consideration so that you can maximize your life insurance buying capabilities. That's the way I'm going to put it, and I'm sticking to it. And remember, to see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/RUEL. That's healthiq.com/RUEL, or mention the promo code RUEL. That's RUEL when you talk to a Health IQ agent. On with the show.
Podcasting from somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area, the birthplace of Bruce Lee, the iPhone, and the bendy straw. This is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
There was a dream a million miles away. There was fire in
Amazon.com. You know, I won't be surprised if more and more stuff that I shop for, buy, and get shipped to my home comes from Amazon. It's just a reality, right? And if this is your reality, go to ruelsrunning.com, click through to the Amazon banner to get to Amazon. Why am I asking you to do so? Well, it is a no-cost-to-you way. If you like listening to Ruel's Running Podcast, it is a way that you can help the show out without spending more than you've already spent while shopping at the good folks at Amazon.com. So help us out. Go to ruelsrunning.com, click through to the Amazon.com site, and shop, connect, and enjoy. Hey everybody, what's cooking? How's it going? What's going on? Welcome to the podcast, Ruel's Running Podcast, and I am he who podcasts and occasionally runs. I am Ruel Abadam. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking this silly little show out. If you are a return listener, what's up, guys? Glad to have you back. If you are a new listener, welcome, and yes, welcome. Ha 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 ha. For folks who tune into the podcast, can probably tell I've got a frog in my throat, a toad in my throat, and I'm kind of, I think I'm dealing with something. So I'm going to come across kind of Froggy. Do you guys remember Froggy from Little Rascals? If you don't, look him up. Little Rascals. It had buckwheat and frog. Is it Froggy? And I don't even remember anymore. Alfalfa, the gang. Yeah, back when kids of all walks of life just roamed the neighborhood and got into trouble and stuff like that. Anyways, yeah. So I'm dealing with that, but that's okay. I kind of feel a little like it gives me a little more of an interesting voice. I can kind of bring it down low, and so yeah. What's been going on? What's been going on in your world, guys? It's been busy. Been busy at the office. Been busy at home. You know, I've been having a good run of exercise, but it looks like this past week, it's just been not conducive to doing that stuff. It's kind of funny how if work gets hectic, then some other aspect of life gets impacted. If things are rolling outside of work, it might be an indication that work is kind of easier, or it's just kind of at a low or slow point. And sometimes it's just everything's just in the middle, and so it's just one of those times. So today I hope to be able to get a good run in. It's a good time. I think the time that I've taken away from doing some exercise has given my body some healing time, which means my feet don't hurt as much. But I do need to get back out and stress my body a bit more. My body can only get stronger if I just take it up a notch and allow myself to adapt. The only thing is, I do feel like I am dealing with something every now and then. I do get some sort of cold symptom, and then it goes away. And I think this throaty thing that I'm dealing with is one of those things. It just hasn't gone away yet. Anyways, I know in the past episodes I have been talking about looking for music, and I still am interested in looking for music. I'd love to be able to find some good music from some good artist who wants to get their stuff out on the podcast and be shared and promoted. Give you guys something different to listen to. And I found ways online to create bumpers and things of that nature, and there are apps and things that I could use to create music on my own, which is still something that I'd do, but I'd still interested in finding some good music. And so again, if you know somebody, let me know. You can just write to me on the website, or you could leave a message on SpeakPipe on the website, ruelsrunning.com, or you can drop a text or a voicemail on a 650 Mug Ruel. That's 650-684-7835. Yeah, let your friends know too that if you enjoy the show, that there's you can find the podcast not only on Apple Podcasts, but you can find it on other podcast outlets like the Spotify app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, things of that nature. So yeah, and you could always go to the website and find it. Awesome. I want to give a shout out to the NSNG admins. What's up, Lonnie? What is up, Rebecca? And what is up, Mark Thompson? See how Mark Thompson had a last name and Rebecca and Lonnie didn't? For whatever reason. Hope to get the guys back together again. Get the guys and the gal back together again on the podcast. Get them on a Zoom chat. And, come up with something interesting to talk about, relevant to the NSNG lifestyle, the community, the group. It'd be fun. It's just been really kind of hectic right now. I would have loved to get them on this particular episode, but maybe on the next one. We shall see. And hey, Lonnie, Rebecca, and Mark, if you guys have some interesting topics that we can roll into when we do have that Zoom chat, if and when, I like to say when, yeah, let's do it. It will be fun. Ugh. So, guys, what's going on? What's been cooking? What have you been concocting in your kitchen? Or what has somebody been doing for you? Not a whole lot of interesting stuff going on here. Just the usual bone broth in an Instant Pot. And still churning out omelets every morning for my wife. It's the mushroom and tomato omelet. And she'll usually enjoy that with half an avocado, which is interesting because she's not really a big fan of avocados, but she knows that it's good for her, so she eats it. So how about that, guys? If it's good for you, eat it. You might learn to like it. I remember when I started on this NSNG lifestyle, avocados was one of those go-to fruits that I used to take a whole avocado into the office along with a sports bottle filled with my green shake and a little baggie of almonds. And that was my lunch. Because back then, early on, I was still accustomed to having lunch at a lunchtime. And I loved the idea that I was putting in, the types of foods that were the avocado, that were in the green shake, into my system. Really enjoyed it. I was really excited about, the changes I was making from a dietary standpoint, and the hope that I was on the right path to getting myself to become fat adapted and not reliant on carbs and sugars and stuff like that. And that's exactly what happened. And that's something that folks can do if they want to do a shift where they are eliminating, carbs, reducing their carbs substantially, and they want to teach their body to thrive and flourish and be energized by things from fat and some protein. That's one way you can handle your lunchtime, your lunch periods. Just bring a little cooler bag full of that stuff. Not full, but just those little components. And it doesn't have to be that. It could be any sort of combination of things. And then for me personally, over time, I just I stopped doing it. I stopped doing the shakes. I stopped doing the avocados as often. I still enjoy avocados, and every time I do, I remember why I had them as much as I had in the past, because personally I find them awesome and delicious. I had one last night, and I it's nothing that I need to be fancy about. I can just have it straight, or I can just hit it with salt, or I can hit it with olive oil, or both. I can throw an egg on it. You can just have it as an accompaniment or as the main thing, It's awesome. One of my favorite fruits. But yeah, that's how my wife enjoys her omelets, with some avocado, and I kind of went off to the side. And the other thing I mentioned was the bone broth, and that's always a good thing. We do more beef bone broth than anything, only because we haven't been doing the rotisserie chicken in the Instant Pot as often. The thing with doing a whole chicken is we tend to not eat all of the chicken, and we want the bones, and we do want like the dark meats and stuff, and it just might have to find a way to just get maybe a half a chicken and roll with that. But when we do have bones of from the chicken, and it's added to the broth, so have a combination of beef and chicken broth, man, that broth comes out really, really nice. And I make about, I don't know, with all of the ingredients in the Instant Pot and then the liquid poured into it, the liquid gets up to like the 9 cup or 10 cup mark. And so I don't know what that ends up being when you remove all of the solids out, but that's generally what I make in the Instant Pot. And so there's enough to use to enjoy just for as is, or as an ingredient to other dishes like soups. So, and sometimes there's just some broth left that just needs to be tossed out. and a new batch be made. That's what's going to happen tonight. I'm going to have to toss out what's left and create a new batch. I'll probably save some of it and make myself some instant broccoli soup, which is super easy to make. If you guys want to know how to do that, just get a blender, get some hot broth, and you can either have some raw cauliflower florets, or you can have some steamed cauliflower, depending on how you want to roll. Add that into the blender and just add the broth and the vegetable together, blend it up really nice. I like to add some olive oil in it, give it that luxurious feel, and I'd like to add some heavy cream as well to give it that creaminess, and a lot of salt and a lot of black pepper, and that's an easy big bowl of soup. Again, speaking of soups, one of the other things that I've been cooking that I've made is, if you guys have heard me make the mushroom soups, the paleo mushroom soup, basically did the same thing but with cauliflower and without the coconut milk, and it's awesome. Just again, take a pot, add some olive oil in it, and then sweat out some chopped shallots or onions and garlic, and then once that's nice and translucent, add in some chopped up cauliflower, and let that sort of cook through the cauliflower, let it cook through. I don't know if you guys can hear any of that. There's gunfire in the background, but don't be alarmed. I have a Kevlar vest on. Actually, off in the distance, there is a military property, and it's a garrison, and every now and then you can hear some sort of training going on, like right now. A lot of popping. So yeah. Anyways, the cauliflower soup. My wife picked up some purple cauliflower, which made it interesting because in the end, added all of the cooked cauliflower, onions, and garlic into the blender with a bunch of the broth, whizzed it up, and the thing was basically purple soup. Awesome, right? A lot of salt, a lot of pepper, and so have that. And the way that's being prepared is that my wife takes that along with her to work, and I packed it up in a thermos for her, garnished with some chopped green onions, and I take a strip of crisp bacon and I crumble it up and put that in there as well. And there you go. That's what's been cooking, guys. Omelets, more broth, and something different in soup. I want to move right along into family. And, my family is doing well. My family is, as well as they can be, and I hope everybody else is doing fine and that their families are doing fine as well. I like to end the day with the family, and when we're all in bed, I'm a guy that likes to pray when I don't forget to pray. That's just me. You don't have to if you don't find value in it, but I do, my family does. And one of the things that I like to talk about is to give thanks, right, that the family is able to come back, is able to be where we are at that moment in the evening, all, in bed, ready for bed, that kind of thing. Give thanks to that because we're so busy in life that we can forget. We can take things for granted. But, I always want to remember and remind us as a family that we should be thankful for that we're able to, at that moment, be under one roof, to have each other, to have our health, and give thanks for that, and to give thanks and look forward to another day where we can do it all over again. And, it's easy to forget it, to take stuff for granted, and unfortunately there are others that aren't as fortunate, and hearing those stories serve as a reminder, right? And so I bring that up because, and I wanted to bring this up on the, I guess, sort of the health portion, but we'll just call this the family and health portion of the podcast, because I bring it up because, so far in 2018, right, we have some close friends who I've described as basically family. They have 2 young adult children, and one of them had been diagnosed with cancer. And I talked about it before, where, it presented itself as a tumor on her thigh. And the last time I talked about it, the family was waiting on a PET scan. So I guess as an update to that, PET scan had been done, and, she had, and since has had the tumor removed, and it's going to go through some level of treatment. Nothing too extreme, and, from what I can tell, from what I know, she's going to be fine, right? She's going to be fine. But no one wants to find out that their child has cancer and has to take treatments. No one wants to have cancer. No one wants to go through treatments. And, there's enough times in my life on this lifestyle, this NSNG lifestyle, that I've paid attention to, things in this community and around this community related to this community. And that's things like how food can harm your health and how food can help your health. And I've been, I don't know if you guys can hear that, it's me scratching my ear. But, there's information like, how sugar has been found to fuel cancer cells, right? And I don't talk about it a whole lot. It's just information that, I absorb, and it's information that I know. And, on this lifestyle, I'm like everybody else in the community who's been here as long as I have. They've taught themselves to not be dependent on sugar, to operate on less, if any, and it varies time to time. It'll be lower carb to no carb, to high fat to extremely high fat, to moderate protein to higher protein. Just it varies depending on the individual, because everybody's different. Everybody comes from a different background as far as how their system is. And, I'm familiar with the lower carb way of living. I'm familiar with the no carb way of living. I'm familiar, and also experienced with the, a range of fasting, intermittent fasting, keto, being in ketosis, dietary ketosis and all of that. And, those were things that I evolved into and experimented in. And to me, it's all under the same umbrella. And it's a good thing, right? Because at the end of the day, it just means I can be just fine without a lot of the crap. And at the end of the day, it means over a period of time, I've learned what I can eat and what's beneficial to me. And that just becomes innate or second nature. It just becomes, it starts off novel and a cool thing to experiment and try, and it's very exciting. But then at the end of the day, it just becomes life. And I bring it up because it's just sort of, for me and a lot of others in this community, it's common knowledge about things like you can help yourself out if you have cancer by just not consuming anything that will likely fuel it. So when things like family, friends, and family, the thought of them having cancer or having recovered from cancer, I just automatically, my mind goes to, I wonder if they know that the foods that they eat potentially or likely is contributing to fueling their cancer or their chances of getting cancer again. And, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, I'm just somebody who just finds knowledge along the way and subscribes to knowledge that I find to be truth, right? And there's going to be a lot of people out there that don't, and that's where they are. But when it comes to family and friends dealing with things like cancer, I'm in a position where do I try my best to share the information that I have so that it can set them in a direction of seeing if it's right for them? Or do I not say anything? And if I do say something, how much do I say? How much information do I give? How do I say it? It's tough, right? For this family, these friends, every time we visit them, I'm always one way or another talking about food and its impact in our blood sugar and stuff like that. And the only reason why that happens is because the head of the household, the husband, the man, right? We'll call him Vernon. He himself has dealt with health issues related to things like blood pressure, I think, and blood sugar, and he's been on his own path and journey to getting healthy. He runs regularly, and he tries to be mindful of what he eats, and it's good. And they know that I operate a certain way, and they know that my activities, involve, some long runs here and there. And I try to connect, food, the way I eat, and my health, and my weight, and my ability to stay fueled while I go out on some of these, running adventures, right? I try to tie in all of that. And when I'm with them, and I also talk about, what types of foods I eat, because they're curious. And, being able to talk about those things openly with them sort of makes it easier for me to have the conversation about how not only can you eat a certain way that regulates, that controls your blood sugar and whatnot, but you can also eat in a way that not only does that, but hopefully minimizes your chance of fueling things like cancer. So, we talk about, their daughter, and how she's doing. Then I talk about, how knowing what I know, paying attention for as long as I've paid attention. And I'm by no means a big geek about it all. I have been fanatic time and again. The whole podcast was started off on that sort of momentum. But, and every now and then I have my moments where I just kind of like regurgitate, and I have like this, I just kind of vomit and spew out of frustration. But, I tell the family that something, once I discovered information about being able to live on dietary ketosis and the benefits of that, the benefits of avoiding sugar, and learning how it can be beneficial to things like cancer. And cancer has been in, our families, a lot of families' lives, and it scares me. It scares me, the thought of, should anyone in my family get a diagnosis, right? And I tell our friends that my go-to would be to eliminate sugar. My go-to would be to put everybody in some sort of dietary or nutritional ketosis, because I want to give every chance for any chance, as I want to give the greatest chance possible that whatever had been found is going to die, is going to shrink, is going to minimize, and also along the way, should there be treatments, whether it be surgery or anything else, to be able to minimize, the impact. I'm not saying that, should anyone in my family have to deal with it, that's the only thing that they would do. Of course not. It would still involve conventional medical treatment, but also accompanied by the lifestyle change, the individual lifestyle change that comes with food. I told them that's what I'm going to double down on. I told the family, if it was with us, and all I needed to hear from Vernon was that he wants to look into it, and he's thankful that I've shared that information. And it feels good, but it's not about me feeling good. It's not about me feeling like someone's heard me. It's about, in the same way that I've come across this information, I hope that somehow others can find it. And if I end up being someone who helps them find it, great, right? And I want to make myself available for anything, And it always starts with what can we eat, and always also accompanied by this is what she likes to eat, And it always accompanied with me saying, yeah, I understand that she likes to eat that, but this is why it probably won't help her, and this is what can help her, and this is what won't. And, for me, I can do a complete shutdown and turn on of eating things because I've learned to be that way. But for a lot of others, there's still a weird disconnect, right? A lot of people know that they're supposed to eat a certain way based on a lot of the culture and society. And their mind hasn't been opened up to eating things a different way. Not new foods, just foods that they've not been exposed to and tried eating. A lot of folks don't think about just breaking open a nice avocado and eating it, drizzling it with some olive oil, sprinkling with some salt, and just having it that way. People in this NSNG community and similar communities know it, but as big as we may feel this community is, whether you want to call it NSNG, low carb, Banting, paleo, whatever you want to call it, we're still the minority in my opinion, right? At least here in this Western American society, which has also spread itself to other parts of the world, right? And I can go on and on about how my personal story growing up, and I didn't have to buy into, the American diet. It was just what I thought was there. If there was, it was the food, and you need food, so I eat that food, and then that becomes the norm. Like, oh,
I'm having TV dinners. I'm having microwavable breakfast. I'm having frozen pizza. You know, I'm taking a trip to McDonald's, right? I'm ordering, you know, Pizza Hut, Domino's, you know, that type of stuff. You know, I'm having the latest and greatest Doritos, you know, the latest and greatest repackaged soda, right? It just, that's what's presented in front of you, and then you don't have to buy into it. It's just what it is. And then when things like, hey, there's a better way to eat, which includes whole foods, which includes minimizing your processed sugary, carby type stuff, you know, then it kind of blows you away, because you figure, well, lunch is supposed to be packaged in slices of bread, or lunch is supposed to be packaged in a round wheat crusted pie. Lunch is supposed to be some red sauce drizzled over some squiggly wheat pasta, right? Or, you know, lunch is supposed to be wrapped in a pita or a tortilla, flour tortilla. Lunch is supposed to be, you know, a bed of lettuce with some chicken breast drizzled with some high sugary chemically dressed dressing, right? So when someone says, hey, you know what, breakfast, don't grab that muffin and that waffle and that pancake and that French toast or that packaged processed breakfast cereal made with artificial flavors and colors and fortified with, you know, a multivitamin. Instead, what can I have for breakfast? Well, how about an egg or two, a strip of bacon or two, right? Or some smoked salmon with cream cheese. How about just having an egg, 2 eggs? You know, it's like, what? How does that a breakfast? Where's the hash brown? Where's the toast? You know, where's the glass of orange juice? No, right? That kind of throws them off, right? Oh, it's lunchtime. Well, everyone's heading over to this deli or to this restaurant or this food court at the mall, you know, and it's already thought out for you. You just have to pick out what had been pre-thought of, and unfortunately what's been pre-thought of includes things that aren't going to serve you. It isn't going to serve your health. It's not going to serve your waistline, right? It's going to fill you up. It's going to fatten you up, just like grains fatten up, you know, cattle. You don't think of it that way. And you think being stuffed is a sign of, you know, good health. But no, it's just a sign of you putting bulk in your system and your body's having to deal with it. The funny thing is, these days, if I have a couple eggs for breakfast and some bacon and some coffee with some cream, you know, I know that that's more than enough energy in that meal that will take me through the day for all of the day, right? I know that. And it comes without having to be bloated and stuffed. There's a difference, right? Being satiated and knowing that you have enough energy in the quality food versus just eating masses and masses of substance, right? How many folks out there, and I was this way, I would stuff myself with, you know, the standard American, we'll call it your basic burger and fries and maybe a couple burgers, maybe a couple fries, right? Or a big old plate of pasta with a side of bread and, you know, and then a big old soda. Stuffed myself so bad that I just keep going regardless of feeling that sensation, and that's that's like double stuff, triple stuff, and that's not good. Only for me to be hungry a couple to 3 hours later. How did that happen? Right? Doesn't make any sense. Oh boy. Anyways, I got lost in what I was saying, but back to our friends. They were open to knowing more information, and I said, okay, I'll share some information. And a couple bits of information that I shared had to do with some information like Dominic D'Agostino's TED Talk about, some of his research tied to how the therapeutic effects of things like a ketogenic diet, and how in his research he's found that I believe it was his research. If it wasn't his research, it was research that he had stumbled upon and just started talking about. Glucose and cancer, and how you eliminate the glucose, and you basically starve cancer. And that's information that I heard on a podcast. I wish I knew exactly which episode, which podcast. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. From what I remember, it was that cancer cells were found to have two energy sources, and glucose and some type of protein. But the research found that if you just eliminate the glucose, which you can easily do for the most part, it was enough to cause the cancer to die or shrink. And he goes into, Dominic D'Agostino goes into why that happens, why cancer can't, unlike people can shift from getting energy from carbs and fat, right? Or glucose and ketones, but cancer cells don't have that ability to switch their metabolism to using one fuel source over the other. They can't go from glucose to fat the way humans can. So I shared a couple links regarding that, and another TED Talk similar to that. And that was that, sent that out, and, just hope, that for the best. I can't walk him through it. I can't nag him about it. I can just share as much as I can that makes sense, and then let it be that way. And then again, live as an example. And so that was our friends. And since then, so far this year, we're talking about some other friends going through a cancer. Hi, good morning. You want one? Go ahead and get one. So what? Another family, friends of the family. The mom of the household had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's significant enough where decisions have been made to go with the full mastectomy, right? It's significant enough where, let's face it, cancer itself is significant. So, but it's pretty crazy. And, again, I'm at that point where my go-to is, gosh, do they know the information that I know? And how, if they don't, how can I just at least bring it up and not be insensitive and not be a jerk, right? So what happens is, I need to reach out from a one-to-one level and express myself that I feel, I don't know how you say it, you sympathize, or you feel for her, you feel for the family, there's never really a good way to put it. It's kind of like when somebody passes away, to say, oh, someone passed away, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what are the best words to express, I find out what you're going through, and I feel like garbage, and I wish that it wasn't the case, and I wish that it all goes away, and I need you to know that I can support you as much as I can, whatever makes sense, if you want it, and for most folks and friends, it's sort of like, I pray for you, or you're in my thoughts and prayers, or speedy recovery, or, or even it'll be folks like, if there's anything you need, but then that is sort of still kind of just as empty because it comes from somebody who's like thousands of miles away. If there's anything you need, so, as best as I can, try to express myself that, yes, I have feelings that are aligned with everyone else who doesn't like what they're hearing. That's somebody that they know and care about. It's going to have a rough road. So I sort of express myself, not so wordy, but as best as I can, and then go on with, basically I come across as I've been paying attention to a lot of information over a long period of time, and basically if they don't already know, here's some information that I hope can serve them or serve her. And I basically present the same information that I described earlier, some couple of TED Talks and some other links, a podcast. For this particular one, I shared a direct podcast that Vinnie Tortorich had on his Fitness Confidential podcast. He had a one-on-one, a listener caller, talk about their cancers, Vinnie being a cancer survivor and the caller. And the caller was the guest, we'll call her a guest, was also a breast cancer survivor whose breast, who cancer had returned differently later in life, even after going through the mastectomies and whatnot. And by the second battle with cancer, learned about making the dietary changes, putting herself in a state of ketosis. And, despite the oncologist saying that all of the treatments and medications were causing that second battle to be in her favor, she knew strongly that, it had been, there had been a great impact in just eliminating sugar altogether. So, the conversation was a good one, Vinnie and the guest, because it wasn't just about, oh, here's food and how food changes you, but it's also the thoughts that come with an individual, someone with family, someone, all the things that I can only hear about and hopefully never have to experience, the kind of thoughts that one gets when they're dealing with cancer and dealing with cancer and having a family to worry about. So I shared that podcast, and left it as that. It wasn't one of those things where I shared it with her in a larger forum where there were other people in the room, but it was just a one-to-one. And, left it as that. Got a chance to see her and the family last week, and, we didn't talk about any of the information that I brought up. Just what I did find out, though, was that, it's my hope that folks who are dealing with cancer one way or another can find the benefit, can learn about the benefit of cutting sugar, right? But, in this meeting, I did find out that, she doesn't eat a whole lot of meat, maybe chicken. So she's kind of like almost a vegetarian, but could be mostly a vegetarian, but didn't sound like she cared for meat. So that, that concerned me because, you can be a vegetarian at two different ends of the spectrum. You can have a vegetarian that is as low carb as you can be, but you can be a vegetarian that is high processed carb, and that's a red flag for me because if you're on the higher carb end, that just means you're keeping stores of sugar, supplies of sugar high, not just for your body, but also for the cancer. So, as I, encounter families and folks that I know and that are close to who are dealing with stuff, and I try to share this information, I can only do so much, and it sucks, right? Can only just, share and wish them well. And, so moving right along, I'm sorry, guys, the last bit on family and health, right? It has nothing to do with cancer, but it does talk about how it does weigh on my mind a bit about how I wish that if people don't know the benefits of cutting out sugars and grains, the way that I've learned, through Vinnie Tortorich and the community.
Health IQ rated 9.6 out of 10 on Trustpilot. Customers love them. Ryan Hall, the fastest marathoner in American history and the only United States athlete to break the 1 hour time for the half marathon. This is what he has to say about Health IQ. Quote, "It's perfect because it's made for people like me with a healthy, active lifestyle," unquote. The lower heart rates that many pro athletes have can sometimes negatively affect insurance rates. Hall liked the fact that Health IQ used this active lifestyle as an asset in getting a good life insurance rate rather than it being a detriment. He commented that he appreciated how Health IQ made the process easy and simple for him, given how limited his time already was. Health IQ is the fastest growing life insurance company with over $5 billion in coverage. So, like saving money on your car insurance for being a good driver, Health IQ saves you money on your life insurance for living a health-conscious lifestyle. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/Ruel or mention the promo code RUEL when you talk to a Health IQ agent today.
Okay, guys, I'm back. I had to pause the recording and get something for my little one, and got myself a little coffee as well. So, I was basically saying it sucks all around when you find out about folks and you know, I have to. There's a lot of power in the knowledge and the lifestyle. I feel that, you know, that goes past being able to lose weight, goes past, you know, minimizing the aches and pains that are associated as a result of, you know, like some sort of systemic inflammation in the body because of sugars and grains. You know, it's the lifestyle is beyond the weight loss. It's beyond, you know, that minimizing symptoms like pain, aches and pains, and poor skin and sleep apnea. You know, it's giving yourself a better chance of enjoying each day, your days better. It gives you it can give you a new life, as meaning, you know, I ballooned up in my small frame. I ballooned up to 170, and when I was in the 10th grade, I can remember being as low as 117. And I am now in my 140s. So, you know, for a long time, you know, being smaller, being back to a weight that makes sense for my frame, you know, it was a great thing, right? Because I could wake up and can't believe my mind would still tell me that I'm bigger than I am, but then here I am putting on size clothes that are clothes that I would wear when I was in high school. You know, so you get to enjoy the days differently. You also get to walk around feeling that, knowing that you can know and have the confidence that I'm eating better now, and confidence that you don't have to worry about your health the way that the average person is worrying about their health. I don't worry about having a heart attack. I don't worry about the foods that I have are high in cholesterol. The foods that I have are high in fat, and that's all going to lead to me having heart problems down the road. You know, my dad is no longer around, and he battled heart issues, heart disease, or whatever you want to call it, the last few years of his life. But I don't walk around feeling like any of that is a concern. And that's because when you're in this lifestyle, your relationship with food changes and your knowledge is expanded. You find out that the average person is going to worry about cholesterol, but I don't, you know. And that's a whole different topic that can be talked on and on and on and on about. I'm sure I've covered the topic several times in past episodes, but bottom line is, you don't have to be worried about cholesterol. The average person shouldn't have to worry about cholesterol. You know, children shouldn't have to worry about cholesterol. You know, none of that. You know, so when you see labeling on food that says has no cholesterol, you know, well, I don't care. Cholesterol is something that the body makes. It's my understanding, it's a nutrient. It's not some toxin, something bad. If you don't eat it, your body produces it. And folks who follow Vinnie, listen to Vinnie's podcast, they've heard him say that. It's just me repeating what Vinnie has said. And as far as fat, right? That can't eat that. That's high in fat. Well, we know that fat. There are such things as healthy fat, the right types of fats that come from meat and some fruit, right? That is just fine. And cheese and nuts. And it's not bad for you, and it's not been found to be a problem from a heart standpoint, right? So you walk, in this lifestyle, you walk around having the confidence that you're not going to have to worry about that, right? Of course, if you have a history of a heart condition, then that's a different ball game, right? And should that be me, have a history of a heart condition, maybe I had a heart attack, right? And, I could stand to benefit from some medication that would ensure that my blood isn't in a state that would be promoting another heart issue, right? But if it were me, it would also include, well, I need to make sure that, I don't have, that I don't promote it by causing the inflammation in my body that come from eating things that are sugar and things that are grain and other things, and having a stressful lifestyle. So I would, eat smarter and, try and minimize loads of stress in my life. That would be me, but it doesn't have anything to do with, fat and cholesterol so much. So anyways, the power of this lifestyle is that I can go around feeling confident. I don't have to worry about those things, and I can eat and be happy and feel my activities and look forward day to day, enjoy, life. Before it, I struggled with weight. I struggled with a lot of symptoms and ailments, and I would have been in the path of standard medical care, which would have been what my parents have gone through and a lot of people have gone through. I would have been directed to eating low fat and not any thought about cutting sugars. I would have put on more weight. I would have been on medications, and I would have been on a trajectory of becoming more damaged. And I believe that 100%. And I see people who are my contemporaries, people that I went to high school with. I can see pictures of them, know that would have exactly been me. Up in weight, and suffering health-wise. And there's a lot of people that I wish can experience what this lifestyle has to offer. But it's not everybody's going to experience it. Not everybody's going to be on it. And it's a sad thing, So, the last thing I want to bring up was, I was surprised to find out online that my older cousin had a heart attack. First cousin. He's the oldest of he's the second cousin. He's the oldest of my mom's first cousins, my mom's first cousin. And I don't know how much older he is from me, maybe 10, maybe. But even if it's 10, to me, that's still a ripe age. I'm almost in my mid 40s, and I don't see myself as old, and even, 10 years from now, I still see that as a prime period in one's life. And I feel that way because this lifestyle has changed my perception of what old can be, right? And this lifestyle has made it so that I can be active and do things that I never imagined someone in my current age and 10 years from now could be or do. So, I was shocked to find out that my cousin Greg had a heart attack, and it bothers me, right? He's family. He was a teenager when I was really, really young and dumb, growing up as a little elementary school kid. But he's someone that I've looked up to, and I still look up to. Our age is our age difference. It's so great that we don't hang out. We know each other as much as we can. Our families were right next door to each other. As a matter of fact, my family rented a unit from his father, and it was just 3 units all connected, and I grew up that way around the family, and me now having a family of my own and seeing him and his family, he has grown children, and he's a grandfather, and he and his wife Lisa, they're amazing. They to raise their kids, and they're beautiful individuals, they're beautiful kids, and I can relate from a parental standpoint that there's struggles that come with raising a family, and whenever I look at his family, I'm thinking wow, right? They're just another example of how I look up to him, right? I can think back of when he was a teenager, and I can look at him now and wow, how time has passed, and this is what's been accomplished. It's an amazing thing. So I relate, I connect, and I feel bad that he's had a heart attack, right? I wrote, my big cousin, Greg, got knocked out hard. And I wrote, a true warrior, he's fighting back on a path to recovery with his beautiful, loving family by his side. The journey may be long, and he could use all the support that the world can offer. I posted that to share a GoFundMe page that his wife had gotten set up. Like others who need some extra support, folks do set up GoFundMe pages. This isn't the first one that I've talked about on the podcast. But it describes what I find the start of this journey that Greg's in. It describes how, he was in the martial arts class. He's, if I'm not mistaken, he's like an instructor or something like that, or an assistant instructor. But like a lot of these martial arts classes, you're part of this family, and there are people who are senior, and there are people who are not, and people learn and people teach, all that stuff. But it was just one of those days, earlier in the month where he collapsed, and his wife was there to, have 911 contacted, and she started CPR on him because he stopped breathing and he had no heartbeat. So, he was transported to a hospital, and there was a whole team of doctors, nurses, and respiratory therapists there working around the clock to help him. And I'm just skimming through the information that's on the GoFundMe page. It describes what had gone on to a certain point. He had gone through a couple rounds of induced hypothermia to preserve his neurological functions. He was on a ventilator for days and had x-rays and CAT scans and shots on shots, IVs, and an angiogram. The angiogram revealed that he had 3 damaged arteries in his heart and that needed to be fixed. So transferred to a different hospital to be scheduled to undergo a triple bypass surgery. As of this recording, I don't know if he's had the surgery yet. Last I heard from his wife, he had been scheduled for a particular day, but got pushed back because of other emergencies. And the page goes on to say that recovery time for that type of surgery, the triple bypass, would generally be about 3 months. So, the whole reason behind the page was knowing that, there's going to be this road to recovery and a lot of consultations and follow-up appointments and rehab and whatnot. And so that page is established so that, for folks who, can lend a hand to give Greg and the family, some support, it's established for that, right? So, it hit me hard, and I wish, and I hope, and I pray that he is a warrior, and that he comes up stronger than ever, and that's all I got to say about that. Yeah. Anyways, this has been one long podcast than I imagined, and I'll leave it as that. And if I don't pick up with more information for this episode, I just want to say, for the folks who've listened to me before, you know that I get this way every once in a while. For folks who are new to the podcast, no, this isn't how the podcast ordinarily rolls. Ordinarily, it's a bunch of nonsense. But sometimes there are times where I need to talk about stuff that is really serious in my world, that I feel that others might stand to benefit from, and then the podcast goes this weird direction. And so with that, I apologize, but I don't apologize. But I wish everyone the best, and I wish everyone good health. And yeah. So with that, I'm signing out then. Remember, folks, hug your family and eat something delicious and go run something. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.